Hello and welcome back. My name is Randy Scamahorn and this is the Chairman's Brief. Thank you for joining me for another episode as we return to the Cobb Innovation Technology Academy for a conversation with Director Dr. Tiffany Barney. Before we learn more about CITA, as board chair for the Cobb Schools, I have the privilege of serving as a spokesperson for the school board. The 2020-2021 school year has been challenging for everyone, but innovative programs like the Cobb Innovation and Technology Academy are part of the exciting future for education here in Cobb County. As parents, you will have more options and more choices, and Director Barney is going to tell us a bit more about options here at CITA. And good morning, Dr. Barney.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Tiffany, you lead an exciting program that serves every corner of Cobb County. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then about your program here.
Absolutely. So I started my career as an athletic trainer, and I thought I was going to be an athletic trainer for the rest of my life. I've worked with high school athletes and college athletes and professional athletes and really enjoy athletic training. However, I took a summer to teach for Duke Tip and fell in love with education. I'd always said I would not be in education, and look where I ended up. So I taught healthcare science. I've been an instructional coach. I was recently the program specialist over healthcare science, law and public safety, and cosmetology at the Georgia Department of Ed. And then I came here to get back to kids. So at the State Department, you spend a lot of time with adults, and I was ready to get back to students. So I've had the opportunity to see education completely from inside the classroom to outside the classroom, and then at the State Department. And now I'm back and was able to open the Cobb Innovation and Technology Academy.
Outstanding. Well, now, where did you go to school? Where do you feel, you got your background besides the work experience?
Go Dogs. I went to the University of Georgia, so I have 7 degrees total, and 5 of them are from UGA, so I am a lifelong Bulldog.
Okay. And a lifelong learner, it sounds
Yes.
like, too. And that's good. Tell us about the Cobb Innovation Technology Academy.
So we are a student-centered program. We take students from across the district. So over the last 2 years, we've had students that represent every middle school in the district. And so it makes us have a very diverse population. Students come here because they want to try something. So instead of, I get to college and I think I want to go into medicine and I haven't tried anything, and I get there and I'm like, this isn't for me. We help them figure that out now. So there is an application period. It opens in October and it typically closes in December or January. And students apply and they tell us about themselves and what they're passionate about, and they pick their top 4 pathways. That allows us to say to a student, absolutely, your first pathway is available. We'd love for you to come. Or your first pathway is full, but we would love for you to come and try something else. So the question I always get is, are they locked into that? Because we're asking 8th graders to then predict what they're doing for the rest of their lives. We work with them, and our counselor does a career plan with them at the beginning and the end of each semester to see, has it changed while they're in that class? So they take their high school pathway, and those pathways are 3 classes, and we're on a block schedule. So during their freshman year, most students will get their first and second level, and then at the beginning of their sophomore year, they'll get their 3rd level. Once they finish that, they'll enroll in work-based learning, and they'll do dual enrollment classes, and so then they're able to really experience what they think that they're interested in. So not only are they taking the coursework and they're getting those industry credentials, but they're also getting some hands-on experience in the fields that interest them.
Okay. Well, now, from an employer standpoint, if a student, let's say, gets at least 2 years, 2 to 4 years here, what am I getting?
So you're getting a student that has invested in a future career. So whether this is their stepping stone so that they're going to a university afterwards, or they're coming straight to you in the workforce, they've learned those hands-on skills. So we anticipate working with the business partners in the area to develop a true partnership. We want them to be able to come in and talk to our students, but they also helped us when picking equipment and supplies for the labs. It doesn't do us any good to train a student on a piece of equipment that's obsolete, or a piece of equipment that they're just not using. It's too expensive, or you can't get the parts for it. So we really wanted them to be invested. So local business partners came in and helped us review equipment and supply lists. So you've got a student that's familiar with the equipment in your facility. They've learned the basic credentials, and then maybe they've heard from somebody that works for you. You've been guest speakers, you've participated in mock interviews, you've helped them prepare for their CTSOs. So you've got a student that not only will graduate with that high school diploma, but they also have the hands-on skills that you're looking for.
If do they have an option to getting basic certification as they graduate for their skill, or are they prepared to do some on-the-job training very quickly for an employer and then get a certification?
So that is a great question. So students here have what we call an EOPA, which is End of Pathway Assessment. At the time that they finish their 3 high school classes, they take an EOPA, which is always an industry recognized credential. So each of them will have the opportunity to sit for at least 1 credential. Some students have the opportunity to sit for more than 1.
Well, now, okay, I come as a freshman, and I think I like automotive, okay? But at the end of my freshman year, I've got a friend that's in carpentry or healthcare, and I realize that I want to make a change. Is it too late for me?
It is not too late for you. So we are on a block schedule, which means you have the opportunity to complete 8 classes each year. And so if you do the math, that gives you 32 credit potential hours that you could have. Well, to get a high school diploma, you need 23. So that lets you know that you have a little bit of wiggle room. So if a student takes those first 2 classes in automotive, we're going to encourage that student to finish the pathway because they only have 1 class left. But we could have them go into another pathway. Now if a student is still interested in it, so maybe you're still interested in it, but you do have that friend over there, we'll encourage you to finish the pathway, and then we can look at placements, or you can begin another pathway. We really want our students to engage in work-based learning and dual enrollment, so we don't want to wait too late to make that change, but we can make that change.
Okay. Now, I know we have a lot of pathways, so if you can do it, that's great, but give us the majority, if not all, of the pathways, or what you want to tell us.
We have some amazing pathways here. We have patient care, which is for the student that thinks that they want to work directly with patients in healthcare, whether that's a nurse, whether they want to eventually be a doctor. We have EMR, which is your student that may want to be an EMT or a paramedic, surgical tech, phlebotomy. Then we move on to cybersecurity and networking, which are some of our most popular pathways that we have because students are so excited to learn about coding and hacking. We have energy and power. We have automotive. Then in our construction cluster and our general construction, we have masonry, electrical, plumbing, welding, and then we have carpentry, and then HVAC. So those are all the pathways that we offer here at CITA.
Wow. So, well, tell us a little bit about the day-to-day life, if you will, for lack of a better term, a student would have here.
Okay. So a student comes here and it's a transition to high school for most of them. They're coming from 8th grade, so that's a little bit different for them. Like I said, we're on a block schedule. They'll take 4 90-minute classes a day. 3 of those will be academic, and then they'll have their 1 CITA class. And so they can take their academic classes at Osborne High School. And so parents always ask, well, how does my child get to Osborne? We're connected by a corridor, so they'll take their academics there, or they can utilize the Cobb virtual option. So freshman and sophomore year are pretty traditional for most students, just like it would be anywhere they go, except for they do have that CITA class. Junior and senior year, we expect them to be involved in work-based learning. So they may be leaving campus to go shadow a plumber or work with a plumber, go and work in a healthcare facility to see if that's what they actually like. They'll be enrolled in dual enrollment classes. We will offer some of the dual enrollment classes here because we're able to get our teachers credentialed, and then some of them they'll go on site to do. So that junior and senior year provides a lot of flexibility, and that's why we say it's student-centered. We allow each student to really work on their career path so we can get them to where they want to be.
Now, as a parent and a grandparent, I'm always concerned about the safety of my children, whether it's at a regular high school or here, but especially here. Now, we work here at CITA with a lot of could be dangerous things if you don't know what you're doing. So how do we stress and when do we stress safety here at CITA?
So safety is the first thing that we do. with all of our pathways. And so each of those pathways has an introductory course that has safety built into it. So the first class in the construction-related pathways is a safety class. In healthcare, they learn safety, they learn law, they learn ethics, they learn basic CPR. So that first class gives them that foundation. Same thing in automotive. They're learning how to safely do things. One of the things we tell the kids in cybersecurity is, yes, we're going to teach you how to hack, but how do you safely do that, and how do you become an ethical hacker so that you can prevent people from getting into other people's systems?
Okay, good. So, but safety is a very strong item throughout the 3, 4, 5, or 4 years.
Absolutely.
So let's hope it's not 5. So, okay. Where do you see CITA going in, and we've been open for about a year, right? And I know we started small, is that correct?
Yes.
Relatively speaking. Where do you see us in 12, 24, 36 months?
I see students not only finishing their pathways, not only working in those career fields, but once they graduate, coming back and helping to develop that pipeline. I can tell the story of CITA all day long, but a student that is graduated, that's going to be so much more powerful to a student coming in. They can tell them their experience. What did they really like? What scared them? What worked for them and what didn't work for them? And so I really see this being a program that's a fit for everyone.
If if I'm not doing well as in my coursework, I don't mean that health-wise, but if I'm struggling in my chosen pathway, is there avenues that I can get help,
So there are lots of support systems here at CITA. We realize that this is a change for students. And so our counselor does a fantastic job of staying on top of students, but also talking to them about, well, what's going on? I see that you're not doing well. And even, like I'll give you an example now. Our seniors now, there are some that are struggling in economics, and she meets with them and says, I see you're not doing well. Tell me what's going on. And talks them through that, but making sure they understand you have to have economics to graduate. So what are we going to do to get you over that final hump? We work with them on things like time management, on what that transition looks like. So this year in particular, it was really difficult for students because they missed some of their 8th grade year, and that time where you would normally have bridge programs that kind of show what high school is like. They didn't really get that. And then they started their high school career virtually, and so we've put them in a completely different environment, but they're so resilient, and we're here to help them and support them in any way possible.
Okay, great. Now, we've covered a lot of ground, okay, and you've done very well, thank you. Have I left anything out that you want to share with the world?
I want people to know that when a student chooses to come to CITA, they are not saying that I can't go to college or I can't do college. When they leave here, they can go to a technical college, they can go to a 4-year school, they can go directly to the workforce, they can go to the military. So we talk about our students that are enrolled, enlisted, or employed when they get ready to go. So at our awards program, we will recognize all of those students. So it's not pigeonholing a student, it's allowing them to see the different avenues that they can go to. And so we really want people to know that. A lot of times people revert back to old school vocational, and that's not necessarily what CTAE is today.
Okay. Do we often have guest lecturers to come in from industry, whether it's healthcare or HVAC or plumbing or automotive? Do we have speakers that come in to reinforce what you're doing and to tell students what they can expect?
Not only do we have speakers that come in, but we also have speakers that don't just come and speak to the kids, they engage with them. We have a bunch of industry people coming in the next 2 weeks to work with students on interviewing. So they'll actually be talking to them and creating dialogue and giving them feedback on their resumes and their cover letters. We have them come and help them with hands-on skills. The great thing about this year is it's shown us how technology can also help with that. So maybe they Zoom into a class instead of coming in. In healthcare, we have the telehealth machine so that they're able to interface with specialists from across the country. So there's so many different options for specialists to engage with our students.
So, speaking of healthcare again, I want to make sure too, when you gave me a tour a couple of months ago, I believe I saw an ambulance simulator. Did I not?
There is an ambulance simulator. It is the exact dimensions of the back of an ambulance. So the students, they will practice transporting patients from, there's a bed set up in there so patients aren't always in a nice place when you get a call to someone's house. So they'll move the patient from the bed to the stretcher and then get them in the back of the ambulance and practice their skills in that confined space. And so that allows them to really get used to what things are like. We have so many different simulators throughout the building that give the students that first taste of what working in the field is like, from the welding simulators to the heavy equipment simulator in construction, the mannequins in healthcare. We have a hybrid car simulator in automotive. We have so many different options for students to get used to working and developing those hands-on skills.
Now, what do we call the that you have demonstrated a couple of times, the table? I call it a table where we can take apart a human body. It's a state-of-the-art thing. So can you give us a little better description of that?
Yes, it's our anatomage table. So I always tell people to think back to when they were in school. When I was learning anatomy, we had a black and white picture that was copied from a book, and that's how we were able to identify structures. Well, students nowadays have so many more options. And so that anatomage table has different cadavers in there, and then we can start as superficial as skin level, and we can move as deep to looking at the internal organs, and we can look at the skeletal system. We can number them and have students identify what those structures are. They can rotate, they can look at different cross sections. So it's a really nice piece of equipment that we have here.
There are so many exciting things to do here and to learn. So thank you so much, and we look forward to visiting with you in the future.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of the Chairman's Brief. I hope our time together has been useful to you, our customers. It is because of our community and staff that this county is the best place to teach, lead, and learn. Next time, we'll talk with our Chief Financial Officer, Brad Johnson, about the return on your financial investment as Cobb County taxpayer. Thanks again, and we'll see you on next week's edition of the Chairman's Brief.